Hey guys, I'm back. And today Sony just announced, or is it yesterday? So they just announced that the PS5 pricing, and it's really a big shock. I wouldn't say a bigger shock than most of you, but it's the price is, would say, right. They can't go any lower. So with this info that we just got from the Sony PlayStation, what does it affect? What does it affect the Xbox lineup? Do they really like affect most of the lineup? Because the current PlayStation 5 pricing is $499, and the digital edition is $399. And if you look at the Xbox Series X and Series S pricing, the Series X is $1499, which is exactly the same, plus it's slightly more powerful if you look into it. And for the Xbox Series S, it's slightly, I'll call it slightly, it's less powerful, but it's way cheaper, like almost 2 times cheaper. But if you compare the Series S and the PS5 Digital Edition, this is where it starts to get interesting, because at just $100 more, you can get the PS5 Digital Edition, which is target 4K compared to Xbox Series S at 1440p, and the specs is equivalent to the normal PS5, which is something that the Xbox Series S has lost on when it comes to specs. But now come to think again, those people who will be buying this Series S are the ones who enjoy the Xbox Game Pass. If you look at the Xbox Game Pass lineup, it's totally unbeatable, especially the games that they serve. There's a lot of good games out there, and when you come to think about it, especially for those parents who wants their kids to have a ton of games to play when they just bought the Xbox itself, compared to the previous gen, where you can only play the Xbox, the next gen games. It's a huge big leap. Like when you buy the Xbox Series S, you can straight away play there's a lot of games already there for you. Well, for the PlayStation, of course, you have to add a few dollars. But the PlayStation Plus isn't as big as the Xbox Game Pass, and it can only go to until PS5 and PS4 games, which is a bit of a bummer. But that's the advantage of Xbox Series X, even though it ain't as powerful. For the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition, let's talk about the PlayStation 5 now. Digital Edition, its advantage is the specs. The specs, how I would say this? The specs is equivalent to the normal PS5, and the only thing that it doesn't have is the Blu-ray disc. And when you come to think of it, like if you think like a more long-lasting version, other than people who don't care about graphics and stuff or specs, they don't even notice what's 30 frames per second or 60 or 120 frames per second. For those people who like really want to invest their money on it, $100 is actually a good additional $100 is actually a good way to spend your money, because for that specs and price, you're getting a console that lasts longer compared to Xbox Series S. Even though there's a lot of games on the Xbox Series S, if you just jumped in, there's a lot of people in Singapore around here that they just bought the console and they buy just a few games and they're happy with it. They don't care about how many hundreds of games like the Xbox Game Pass. All they want is just these few games, and and they can last for a year or 2 years with it. With these just few games. That's because Singapore is a really busy country, and that's how I see these two battles between the Xbox Series S and the Xbox, and I mean the Xbox Series S and the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition. But well, for the Xbox, the Xbox Series X and the PS5, the original PS5, it's hard to compare because firstly they are almost at the same specs, but Xbox, they have the Game Pass, and soon they have it comes with EA Origin with it, or EA whatever the subscription is. Yeah, it will come with it, which is a really good thing. But for those game store out there, good luck with your business. I mean, in Singapore, it seems like if you want an Xbox, you need a Game Pass, because the store out there in Singapore, they are like, I can't find any good games that's supposed to be in store, because they hardly stock any Xbox games. So if those people in those countries that they don't sell Blu-ray discs for Xbox anymore, Game Pass is a good choice. But for those PlayStation, I mean, you want PlayStation Plus, okay, no problem. And if you want the digital edition, I don't know much about the PlayStation store, to be honest. I forgot about it. Last time I have a PlayStation device is the PS Vita, and that's a sad story, but that's a different story. But if you want buy a disc, you can find it anywhere, which I hardly find people buying it. The most amount of people that goes to the game store now is Nintendo people. So that's all I have between these fights. I mean, they both are a really good console if you can afford both, which I know some of my friends who can afford both will buy both. But for those who can't afford it, I don't even want to listen to what I just said just now, between the pros and cons of these two consoles, this so-called next gen. Or you can do more research about it. But other than that, these two devices, they are really like still fighting against each other between services and hardware, which is what I like, because of the longevity of the consoles, like service and games. There's a lot of things to talk about, but if you ask me which console would I get, or which device, whatever it is, I will get something that I don't have before, the Oculus Quest 2. And that's it. I really like this kind of video, and see you guys next time. Thank you and bye bye. Peace out.